Hey there, BookTube. Noah. Everyone who reads and must converses the channel. Sundays with Borges. My man. And you see, my regular Borges collection that I'm working from is sitting up there. That's because today I'm doing something a little bit different. This is a Sunday with Borges lecture series. And I'm going to be talking about one of the lectures that is expounded on in this book here called 7 Nights. This is a New Directions paperback edition. You see, it's very slim. So I assume that this is excerpts from talks, not complete talks, because they would be a lot longer. But I could be wrong. They might just be kind of small 30-minute talks or something. I mean, they definitely are substantial enough to give you that kind of enough content. In this collection, there's the Divine Comedy, Nightmares, The 1001 Nights, Buddhism, Poetry, the Kabbalah, and Blindness. So if you like this and you would like me to go through any of the other of the lecture series in this book, let me know. And I'll definitely do that. Tonight, I'm going to go through the Buddhism lecture because I do a Buddhism series on my channel. I am well-versed in Buddhist Sutra. I love Buddhism. It is an amazing philosophy of life, religion, cosmology, and I really love it. And so I was very interested in getting into what Borges says about Buddhism, because Borges was very, very widely read and just a kind of an intellectual jackdaw, just could kind of pull things out through all of his experiences of life, his own personal experience, but also his experience of literature and things like that. So I was interested to see what he would say, and I will say that as widely read as Borges obviously was, at the time when he was reading this stuff, which is, 20s, 30s, 40s, things like that, times like that, perhaps a lot of Buddhist sutra and Buddhist ideas were not very widely known in even scholarly circles in South America and Argentina, or even in the West as a whole, things like that, because there is some things here that I kind of thought were strange to be put the way that they were, but I'm going to address those as I get to it. It is very, very interesting stuff. So this is Borges on Buddhism, and what I'm going to do is just kind of read some parts, some excerpts that I've marked, and then just kind of talk about Buddhism as a whole, just what the ideas that come up. And first off, what he kind of goes at is Buddhism as a whole being a very tolerant religion, which it is. Buddhism is characterized by its tolerance, and it is just an attribute of the philosophy. It is not there to convert people. It is a philosophy of life that people you resonate with, and then you apply. If you don't apply it, then no harm, no foul. You're free. You are every individual is completely free in a Buddhist mind state to do as they see fit with their own life, whether that be skillful or unskillful, right? And he says, a good Buddhist can be Lutheran or Methodist or Presbyterian or Calvinist or Shintoist or Taoist or Catholic. He may be a proselyte of Islam or the Jewish religion, all with complete freedom. And that is true. By contrast, it's not permissible for a Christian, a Jew, or a Muslim to be Buddhist, right? So a Buddhist can enter into other religions. if you are a Buddhist, you can also enter into other religions and practice those. And there's no problem with that. But by contrast, if you're a member of a religion, the big three, obviously, you cannot go into and enter into a Buddhist philosophy, right? And there's a number of reasons why. The other religions, this is quoting again, require a great deal of credulity. If we are Christians, we must believe that one of the three figures of divinity condescended to become man and was crucified in Judea. If we're Muslims, we must believe that there is no God but God and that Muhammad is his prophet. But we can be good Buddhists and deny the Buddha's existence historically. You can be a good Buddhist and deny the Buddha's existence. Or more exactly, we must know that our belief in the historical is not important. What is important is to believe in the teachings. Nevertheless, the legend of the Buddha is so beautiful that I can't help but mention it. And it is beautiful. The legend of the Buddha and what Buddhism is based on in a kind of spiritual, historical context is a beautiful story. And very, very telling to our human condition. So he recounts that. He definitely recounts that loosely in this talk here. Another quote, Buddhism, besides being a religion, is a mythology, a cosmology, a metaphysical system, or more exactly, a series of metaphysical systems which do not recognize each other and which dispute amongst themselves. And that is very, very true as well. There is wonderful talks and just works of these Buddhist monks from different schools of thought in Buddhism that will come and debate each other, come and talk their metaphysics. And it is always very, very insightful and wonderful. And there's no problem between the two. It's okay to have differences in what you think the mechanisms and the mechanics behind this thing is in these kind of discourses and debates. It really gives a lot to a Western mind to come into contact with this kind of stuff. Because all too often in our culture, these kind of debates are not debates, they're arguments. They're complete, and then communication breakdowns. And they do it on a very high level in Buddhism. Here he's talking about comparing Buddha to Christ, to Jesus Christ. Here is a great difference from Christ. Jesus told his disciples that if two are gathered, then he will be the third. Wherever two followers are gathered, then I will be there, right? And in contrast, the Buddha says, I leave you my law. That is to say, he has, with the first sermon, put into motion the wheel of the law of the world. Later will come the history of Buddhism, Lamaism, magical Buddhism, Hinayana, the lesser vehicle, Mahayana, the great vehicle, and Zen Buddhism of Japan. So, in Buddhism, there's not this focus on the reformer, on the one who has actually given the teachings to humanity, although he is very worthy of veneration, because what is attributed to the Buddha, these teachings, are the greatest psychophysiological assessment of human beings that has ever been done, even in all cultures. And but the focus is not on the Buddha, it is on the teachings that is left by the Buddha. That's what Buddhism is about. It's not about a personage, and definitely not about a deity, right? Among the stories of the Buddha, there is one that is particularly illuminating. This is the parable of the arrow. A man has been wounded in battle, but he does not want them to remove the arrow. First, he wants to know the name of the archer that fired the arrow, what caste he belongs to, what the arrow is made out of, where the archer was standing at the time, how long the arrow is, what tree that arrow was made from, and when that tree was felled. While he's discussing these things, he dies. I, however, says the Buddha, teach that one must just pull the arrow out. You know? And so, what is the arrow in that parable? The arrow is the notion of I, the self. It is the notion of selfhood, of everything to which we are chained. The Buddha says we shouldn't waste time on useless questions. Is the universe infinite or not? Does the Buddha live after dying in some other realm or not? All this is useless. What matters is that we pull the arrow out. It is an exorcism, a law of salvation. That's Borges. And that is very true. What Buddhism is concerned with is the growth of the individual on and above everything else. And it's very cool that Borges saw that. Now, Borges is using the term I for this kind of thing, where I am more apt to insert the term self, because that is what Buddhism is really talking about. This kind of selfhood that we think we are, this kind of limited self that we define in all these limited ways. That is the I that he is talking about. But it doesn't serve to call it an I, because there is a self with a small s, which is what I think that I am in my limited state of being right now, right? But then there is a selfhood that is synonymous with the entire construct of this universe, that is part of the being, part of reality, which is what we are made out of, being star stuff, things like that. That sense of self is self with a capital S. And that selfhood is valid, but you have to realize that. You have to self-realize. And that sense of self cannot just be intellectually told and understood. It has to be felt. So here he goes into the cosmology a little bit. The kalpa, which is the universe, consists of an infinite number of cycles that is divided into time periods that are called kalpas. The kalpa transcends the imagination of man. Think of a wall of iron. It is 16 miles high, and every 600 years an angel brushes against it with a fine cloth. When the cloth has worn down the 16-mile-high iron wall, the first day of a kalpa will have passed. The gods last for as long as a kalpa, then they too die and are reborn. In Buddhism, there is no God. Or, there may be a God, but that's not what is essential. The essential is that we believe our destiny has been preordained by our karma. If I happen to have been born in Buenos Aires in 1899, if I happen to be blind, if I happen to be speaking these words before you tonight, all of it is a result of my previous life. This is not a single fact of my life. There is not a single fact of my life that has not been preordained by my previous life. That is what is called karma. Karma becomes a mental structure, a very delicate mental structure. Now, in that, karma is not just a result of one previous life, your immediate previous life. That previous life might hold a lot of weight, a lot of weight for this life right here, but that is not the one, that is not the only product of the karma is your previous life. It is all your previous lives. There might be large, big things that you have done, either skillful or unskillful, in previous lives that have weight ongoing, because as Borges says there, it is a mental structure. So if it is something that you do something very, very weighty to your personality and to your being, then that sticks with you for longer and has more of an effect on your being, because it is so strong. Whether that be something of like a supreme act of self-sacrifice, or something horrific like committing a murder of somebody that you love, right? Something like that. What it comes down to in Buddhism, Borges puts like this: we must renounce passion. And with passion, what it is, desire. We must renounce passion. Suicide does not help, because it is a passionate act. The man who commits suicide remains in the world of dreams. We must reach understanding that the world is an apparition, a dream, and that life is a dream. But we must feel this deeply, having reached it through the exercises of meditation. In Buddhist monasteries, one of the exercises is this: the neophyte must live every moment of his life experiencing it fully. He must think, now it is noon, now I am crossing the patio, now I will meet my superior. And at the same time, he must think that at noon, the patio, the superior, they're all unreal. They are as unreal as he and his thoughts, for Buddhism denies the self. One of the great delusions is the self. Buddhism thus agrees with Hume, Schopenhauer, and with our own Maciendo Fernandez. There is no subject. What exists is a series of mental states. If I say, I think, I am committing an error, because I'm assuming a fixed subject, I. And then an act of that subject, which is thought. That is not so. One should say, as Hume points out, not I think, but rather it is thought. As one says, it is raining. When we say it is raining, we do not think that the rain is performing an act, but rather it is something that is happening. And in the same way that we say it's hot, it's cold, we should also say it's thinking and it's suffering, and avoid the subject. And that's the point. This subjectivity of everything being self-referential, that you yourself are the center of the universe, and this kind of just it is an act that requires discipline and work to get there. But that is the point, to become not so self-referential and oriented in that way. We always think in terms of subject-object, cause-effect, logic-illogic, a thing and its opposite. We must go beyond these categories. According to the masters, to reach certain truths through sudden intuition requires an illogical answer. The neophyte asks the teacher, "What is the Buddha?" The teacher answers, "The cypress is the orchard." An answer which is completely illogical, but may actually awaken the truth. It may also be a sudden blow. The disciple may ask something, and the teacher may answer with a slap. And so, I think what is important in Buddhism, quoting still, I think what is important in Buddhism is not diverting legends. It's diverting legends, but it's discipline. A discipline that is within our reach and does not require us to become ascetics, nor does it ask us to abandon the carnal life. What it requires is meditation. And meditation that has nothing to do with our sins, nothing to do with our past lives. What is nirvana, the goal of Buddhism? A large part of the attention that Buddhism has gained in the West is due to that beautiful word. It seems impossible not to contain something precious. Nirvana is literally extinguishing. It is conjectured that when one reaches nirvana, he is extinguished, but when one dies, there is a great nirvana, and then extinction. So, concerning nirvana, this is a state where you're not putting energy out there into things that are either skillful or unskillful and things like that. And you're not taking in energy from the world in order to sustain yourself. You are completely within yourself whole. And so this kind of thing in Buddhism is very hard to really understand from a Western perspective, but it is simply a goal that is that must be attained before you can actually awaken, like really awaken to what you are as a being. And this is a kind of thing of not being pushed and not being pulled and not being, dictated by anything outside yourself for your own inner being. You have the power. You have everything you need inside yourself. And that is one thing, for me, that makes Buddhism very, very beautiful. And for Borges as well. So I hope you enjoyed this little exploration of the kinds of things that he says in the 7 Nights here on Buddhism. If any of those others pique your interest, let me know, and I'll go through them at some point. And catch you on the next one, BookTube. Bye bye.